What's up, Weldon?
Oh, hey, is my mic working?
Yeah, you sound like you're a professional broadcaster.
I'm sitting in an airline lounge with just a neck headset.
It's amazingly clear. Like it probably sounds better than my mic does.
Yeah, I feel really stupid for buying like $100 mic for streaming now.
Same, my dude. It's a long time. How are you?
Good. How are you? Long time no see.
Very well.
Or I guess long time no talk.
Yeah, or
Keep
all
catching
sorts
your
of
stream,
things.
so.
Yeah, very well. We're doing good. George and I have been.
I think Weldon's pretty charismatic.
He
Weldon's
is.
a
Hi, George.
charismatic guy. Hey, Weldon. How you doing, buddy?
He is.
Good.
Wait, what time is it there?
Good question. It's noon. I'm in Berlin.
Okay. Noon. Bleh.
What time is it there? It's got to be like midnight or
3:20 in the morning.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't
These are
live
crazy.
functional adult lives.
No. Yeah, it's pretty late.
When did you know me to be a working professional, sir?
Yeah, you're right. Never.
Oh man. Yeah, we've been.
That's probably what led to your success, actually.
Maybe. Actually, you know what? No, actually, I was gonna bullshit you. No.
What the fuck?
Trying to justify my bad habits.
I was gonna bullshit you.
Oh,
man.
that's.
Something about EU times.
I respect
being
you so much for
successful.
backing out of that, because there's so many, I feel like, successful people that just list off the things they do in their life and they're like, that must be why, you know, and then it's all just kind of BS. It's mostly luck. And then people go around copying their behaviors and really nothing is really, I mean,
shit.
not a lot of it is relevant, you know.
Wait
to
a
their
minute, I do
actual
this.
Success.
Yeah, there's so much. I think a behavior that everybody has these days. Like it's a fucking meme. Anecdotal evidence everywhere, and then I
Yep.
feel like researchers and people that actually work in the field and try to like discover the truth to like these topics just don't have a platform where like most people understand or they can actually get to, and then they have to listen to like people that are just like, it's a carnivore diet, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, man. I like scientists suck at communication and writing, and most of the books out there about, you know, learning about topics are mostly written by science journalists, not actual scientists. The ones written by scientists are super boring and they don't really sell very
Yeah.
well.
It's all the pop reference ones, right? That like
Right.
are like the ones that
Like the talent code and
Yep.
those.
Yeah, and they like try to like make it into like a marketing thing, right? Yeah.
I think some of them do a pretty good job, but a lot of it is like most of the results are pretty boring, especially with regards to the brain, you know, because we just don't know so much yet. And then you got to find some way to sell a book and say something. So
How do we know what's fucking real, Weldon?
Yeah, that's the question.
You
Well,
mean-
doesn't even know what's real.
you mean
No
if this is
way.
a simulation?
No,
or
not
do you
that.
mean
No, not that
like-
shit.
Okay.
Holy shit! I mean, just like
That went off the deep end fast.
like if you take a concept like nutrition and like if like I'm having so much trouble in this day and age, like actually finding out what the fuck even is, dude.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem with nutrition research is that we just don't have enough data, you know, or the ability to process it to really get concrete answers.
Yeah.
Like I was just at a conference in Texas called the Southwest Research Institute's Human Performance Summit, and there was this guy there from Sweden. He's at Stanford now, and they're trying to figure out like the genetics of elite running. And he basically said, well, first of all, this is going to be, you know, decades and decades of work just for this one thing, and all of those websites out there that sell you genetic profiles, you know, for nutrition or whatever, are a complete sham. And he tried to explain it like this. He said, any genetic effect that has like most of the population has is like a normal thing. So basically all elite athletes are normal people. And normal effects are composed of tons and tons and tons and tons of different, genetic markers, SNPs, as he called them, just composed together. So he said, like, they're just trying to start with the biggest one, height. Height is the most heritable thing that we can find. It's like, well, 80% heritability in the developed world. You get 80% of your parents' height explained by genetics. So they're looking for all the different areas that would impact height, and they got up to like 300,000 locations, and they're still, finding more. So you look at the online tests, and they measure like maybe 42 maximum, or like sometimes 12 gene locations, and then they're like, okay, now you should eat this diet, and you should exercise this way. And he says complete bogus, because we just have no idea.
What conclusion does that reach?
Like for diet, well, we have to map the human genome, and then we have to map every single, like, we've already mapped it, right? We have to map every single effect to its, like, the effect that it has on our biology.
Yeah.
Then we have to figure out how it is that our environment changes which genes we express. And then for nutrition, it's doubly complicated, because most of our nutrition is decided by, or a lot of our nutrition is decided by the gut flora and fauna, the stuff in our gut.
We're increasingly realizing that, right? That like a huge amount of our
and you got to map the gene code, or the genome of like all of those bugs and plants.
Yeah.
Because all of those matter. And then it's like, okay, well, so those matter. And then how many years is this going to take, And then the hardest thing is that to measure input and output for the human body right now, the most effective test is to figure out our energy expenditure is to lock yourselves in a room and measure all the oxygen, like every molecule, and see how much of it you actually use for metabolism.
Yeah.
Like everything else is just kind of a guess. Even that's a guess, because we don't know what's happening in the body. We only know what's happening when you expel carbon dioxide. So we can measure exactly how much oxygen is used in metabolism. But then, like, that test is really annoying, and you can only lock people in a room for like a maximum 7 days. So you can't really do a longitudinal test. And then it's not like you can have a control group for eating, right? Because it's like, okay, you just don't eat. Well, then die. So there's no way to control for so much stuff. I don't know. It's hard.
So the question is, when there is very limited research on a topic, right? Like, say, eating, or
sports psychology.
Sports psychology, whatever it may be, right? At some point, you have to turn to anecdotal evidence then, right? Because there's like, what other path is there?
Yeah.
It's just experimentation and anecdotal evidence.
In a way, I think it's beautiful, because the way the internet has opened up citizen science, like everybody kind of, there's this movement, right, where everybody is starting to kind of feel like they're allowed to be a scientist in their own life. And I think that that's an amazing level of empowerment. And I actually can't stand it when researchers are like poo-pooing citizen scientists who are like, ordering their blood drawn, all the time, and, getting pee strips. And because I think that that's like probably the way that we're going to get some of the big answers that we want, in the next
really
50 years. So I think that's really cool. Obviously, I mean, there's the downside of anecdotes, but the good side is that it's an inquisition, right? You're being inquisitive, so at least you're thinking about it. And I think the most important thing is that, like what you said about Steve, that he's like, does he go into the conversation like looking to grow and to keep taking more data and more anecdotes and keep learning? So at some point, people's anecdotes become their religion. They're just saying them not to be inquisitive and to experiment and to look at the results and then maybe change their behavior, but just to like try to explain away what they already do so that they feel better about it.
At what point can you take, Weldon, I have this like new idea. I'm making this podcast where I try to take all the meta-analysis and all the studies about a subject. So take something like intermittent fasting and then really distill it down into what we know about the subject in like 15 to 20 minutes and then like talk about it. At what point can you start to apply like actionable things to your life if you don't have like the data? Like what point is like what's promising for you to like apply to like your sports psychology and like what you do? If you did, because we can't know for sure, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I mean, I feel like for me, well, first of all, I think that's awesome because like that's kind of like the missing linchpin in science, right? Is science journalism. The people who like can go and understand the study and then try to somehow translate it into action or theories of frameworks of living that, you know, that really matter or that are really accurate. Like people do it well and people do it badly, and we need more people to do it well. So
Yeah.
I think it's a awesome, like it's the thing that we need kind of. Well, we also need scientists, right? But then like, I think it's just the Hippocratic Oath all over again. Like, what is going to do the least harm? So, like, if the thing you're already doing is not really that great, then it's like improving on that, even if it's not necessarily correct in the long run. If it's like not correct science turns out to be wrong, even if in the short term it just like had a beneficial impact on their life, even if it's placebo, I fail to see how that's a bad thing.
What point would you feel confident giving someone like nutrition advice to eat more vegetables or something?
Yeah, if it's already better than what they're already eating.
But how can we objectively know?
Oh.
Yeah, that's my whole fucking problem.
For nutrition, it's easy, right? You just look at the external body. It's like, well, you're fat, so whatever you're doing now is obviously not optimal. I mean, a certain level of an endocrine gland, you know, padding all your organs is probably natural, but probably not to the extent that we see in America today.
Yeah, but you can also say like, okay, well, what about someone that's like totally skinny fat and like has a pretty high body fat percentage, but isn't actually overweight? Yeah. There's like,
it's not observable.
Yeah, or not observable, or just like it gets so weird at this point where it's like I feel like there's like some basic stuff like read nonfiction books, meditate, eat mostly vegetables, you know, and like you'll be okay in like giving people advice. But now like if I look at a lot of the like nutrition and stuff like that, it throws it into question because the human body is such a random thing. Like the depending on our ancestry and all these other things, like the our gut flora, right? Like you brought up, there's like a completely different idea of what's good for a human being. Like the Inuits can survive on 95% meat with no carbohydrates, right? Like the Eskimos eat almost exclusively whale blubber. Like it works fine for them. Other people can't metabolize fat at all.
Yeah, it's so individual.
Yeah, it's like, how do you give advice to anybody?
I think, yeah, maybe it's dangerous then to give advice, just like present information, and people have to take that next step. Like I assume you're going to try to track people who are willing to do a little bit of experimentation themselves, find out if they're classed as class A, class B. Like maybe you can think of it in terms of genres, like you're kind of this kind of person, or you're this kind of person, and they can figure out for themselves.
That's a good answer.
So there's no it's not platonic, you know, there's no like platonic solid that's like the perfect form. It's more like, you know, there's a bunch of different ones that would suit people. You just have to find out which cluster you're in.
Yeah. So you don't encourage people to do things that are like objectively something. You encourage you present information that you have and then let people find their own way.
Wait, what was the term you used for like homegrown scientists? I forgot the
citizen scientist.
Citizen science.
That's a cool. I've never heard that term.
I've never heard that. Yeah.
It's a term that was coined with the whole genetics mass mailing thing, where they were like mail out a genetic kit and then they would get it back to the university, and they were like, oh, we're recruiting citizen scientists who want to be, because one of the biggest problems with published studies is that the subjects are all, they call them weird, so white, middle class, college age, typically male, and then so like Western. I think it's like Western Emancipated Industrial Society. Right? I don't know what it stands for, but it's like, you know, when you're doing a lot of the leading studies and they're all on like 23-year-old white male college students in the Western world who are eating the same kind of diet and have the same genetics, it's like you can't really trust the results. So then when they did citizen science, they were like, oh, cool, we're going to get like larger populations, and then that's what they called it. So I don't know if the term's still used, but I think it's used by universities who are trying to recruit really big populations from citizenry in order to increase the diversity of their, their subjects.
Oh,
I wouldn't say subjects, but
I thought you meant like people on YouTube doing studies.
well, that's what it's becoming, right? But that's not how it was coined. So when it was coined, scientists were like, "Oh, this is a beautiful thing," and then YouTube came along. People were like, "Well, now I'm a scientist," and then the researchers are like, "Well, that's dangerous. You shouldn't do that." But I think it's just a natural extension of this freedom that we now have to like kind of inquire for ourselves. So of course there's going to be a bunch of crazy people too.
Yeah.
Don't do it right,
Well,
but
I definitely like that somewhat resonates with me. Like I feel like 20 minutes ago I was like in opposition, mainly because so we were talking about there was a Jordan Peterson interview. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Jordan Peterson or who he is.
Wait, Weldon disappeared.
Kappa?
He's back. All right, he's back.
He said he was like in an airport or something?
Yeah, it's fine. Hang on. Hey.
You back?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he's alive.
So okay, my train of thought.
Sorry.
You're saying Jordan Peterson video.
Oh
yeah.
Okay, so there was this
I'm gonna
Jordan.
mute my mic.
It's all good. You don't. It doesn't sound that bad.
Yeah, it doesn't sound that bad. You can keep it on. It helps me because I know you're there. Anyways,
I'll tell you if he disappears. Yeah.
There's a Jordan Peterson interview where initially they misconstrued his point, and we went into it, and that kind of like led to the what is real sort of thing, because the media can frame whatever it wants, and it's hard to discern like what's the real message. But okay, that's not the point. I just wanted to clarify that was what we were talking about when what is real and what is not real. But in the interview, he talked about we don't know where to draw the line in terms of what is acceptable in the workplace in this day and age, right? Like where do you kind of like draw the line in terms of workplace appropriateness between people, right? And like with the new kind of like wave of different kind of ideologies in the workplace, there was an article where, I'm not sure if you've heard about this, where people at Netflix weren't allowed to look at someone for more than 5 seconds. If they looked at someone for more than 5 seconds, that could be considered as sexual harassment. There's all these other different rules, like no hugging. You can only ask someone out. Some of them are reasonable, some of them are not. Whatever. Initially, I kind of looked at that and I was like, this is ridiculous. And quite frankly, just stupid. But I think when you look at it with like an inquisitive mind and in like an experimental mind, like I actually like am more supportive of something like that, and even something even more extreme than that, because I feel like because I feel like you'll never find the answers through actual science. It's going to take a long time, and quite honestly, we might not even get there. So I think like you need to actually like start experimenting or let other people experiment and try to like view those experiences and just grab a shit ton of those like analogies and sorry, not analogies, but experiments and experiences, and like try to formulate some sort of reason.
So you're thinking
I might be crazy, but I think that.
So
That just
okay, I
seems-
think I can understand what you're saying. So you're saying that the exercise of trying this in the workplace is valuable because we don't really know what will happen, and maybe it could be a potentially a big positive.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay, that's a really interesting standpoint to take.
because if the workplace has functioned under the same like set of rules for a long time, the same set of norms, maybe applying these new rules will actually make the workplace more effective and like increase employee satisfaction. Now again, it's kind of dangerous to like go down the train of like this one experience, this one subset of this one company, but I mean, I think like when you look at it, I think when you, as Weldon said before, when you look at something from like an inquisitive nature, it changes the tone and like the like my feelings around the subject, right? Like if you're all like with the frame of mind that we're like trying to understand the subject versus
Yeah. Holy shit.
we're going in with a certain frame of mind to accomplish a certain objective, right? Like if those are very like social justice warrior-esque people that are trying to like reinforce their behavior or their beliefs, then I feel like that's like but if it's like under the is auspice the right word of like
Yeah.
trying to understand how workplaces function and people function and how we can change it for the better, then I think that's like really cool.
It's actually really interesting that like immediately when we heard about that, we took it to like the SJW thing, like, oh, that's such a silly SJW thing to do, when we didn't really explore the possible like frame of thought where it's like, wait, why are they doing this? And maybe there's something to learn from this. And it's like that difference in perspective where you go from judging to inquisitive. It's like all the difference.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool thing, dude. I like that a lot.
Good job, Weldon.
Weldon,
Good job.
changing
Yeah.
lives.
I
Dude.
mean, I'd heard that Netflix thing, and yeah, I guess I kind of like I would consider myself on the spectrum of people, kind of like more on the side of feminist, social justice warrior kind of type. Although minus the warrior part, because I'm so laid back that I don't really care what other people do. You know what I mean? Like social justice observer. I don't know, maybe instead of warrior. So like when I heard them railing against it, I was like, well, I mean, maybe there's a bunch of women that like. I mean, I was thinking about my own behavior, and I was single, and I was like, how much of my like signaling like as a like animal, like how much of the eye contact and the touching and the stuff is actually bound up in like signaling for a mate, and like it's so inextricable, like as far as biology goes, that like where maybe if I think about especially my college days, like the amount of like I'm sure like signaling that happened in conversations that was involving body language and touching and eye contact and all these things where it's all about a power dynamic. Like I was listening to them read that Netflix thing and, you know, debate about it. And I was like, well, I mean, I guess I can kind of see both sides, right? I can see where people think this is a little crazy to try to control that behavior. And then I can also see the people who are like, well, maybe we can wipe out the power dynamic. So it's just like you said, if it's, I really loved the way you put it. Like if we just let the companies do it freely as they want, and if they do it in an inquisitive way, then in 20 years we can look at the data and say like, well, hundreds of companies did this and thousands of companies did this, and it looks like overall, I mean, we did the thing with capitalism and communism, right? I mean, it looks like overall capitalism is a little bit better for you know, human happiness. So that we could maybe say the same thing if Netflix is just massacring everybody and crushes the world in 20 years and everybody else is out of business. Maybe they were onto something.
Yeah. No, I mean
That's a good I don't know, good way to look at it. Good way to summarize it.
I just realized how like you can fall into that trap of like almost like hubris in any like circumstance, like or bias, and to look at something like inquisitive with an inquisitive mind is actually quite difficult, right? Like you already have a certain disposition based on like, you know, what moral beliefs you have, and to just like relieve that from your frame of mind is like so hard to do. Mainly because I feel like no one around me has that frame of mind. Like everybody's always butting heads and in a war with.
It sucks because Elon is not like very popular right now, and he's making some he's doing some kind of crazy stuff, but he has this really good concept called first principles. I'm not sure if this should be accredited to him, but I think this is where I first heard it from him, which is this idea that's like, as soon as you encounter a subject, you should immediately assume nothing about it. You should go all the way back down to the bare bones that you can, and then build your framework up from there. I wonder if I can
Jumanji is coming.
Because he said, "Oh yeah, this is 2 minutes," and this like explains it like so much better than me.
And then I think it's also important to reason from first principles rather than by analogy. So the normal way that we conduct our lives is we reason by analogy. We're doing this because it's like something else that was done, or it's like what other people
do you want to rewatch it? Or, let me link you. Yeah.
Just link me because I missed where you were at.
Here,
I won't be able to watch it because I'm stuck on my phone. But I think that I kind of know what he's talking about. I've seen one interview where he was talking about that. It's probably not the video you're linking, but
here, I'm gonna link it just in case. You can't watch videos on your phone?
Well, I'm in line right now, so I'm gonna send you guys through the X-ray machine soon.
Nice. Maybe we'll survive. Okay, let's watch it.
And then I think it's also important to reason from first principles rather than by analogy. So the normal way that we conduct our lives is we reason by analogy. We're doing this because it's like something else that was done, or it's like what other people are doing.
Me Too type ideas.
Yeah,
slight
iterations on a theme, and it's because it's kind of mentally easier to reason by analogy rather than from first principles. But by first principles is kind of a physics way of looking at the world, and what that really means is you kind of boil things down to the most fundamental truths, and say, okay, what are we sure is true, or as sure as possible is true, and then reason up from there. That takes a lot more mental energy.
Give me an example of that. Like, what's one thing that you've done that on that you feel has worked for you?
Sure. So somebody could say, in fact, people do, that battery packs are really expensive, and that's just the way they'll always be, because that's the way they've been in the past. You're like, well, no, that's pretty dumb, because if you applied that reasoning to anything new, then you wouldn't be able to ever get to that new thing.
Right.
It's like you can't say, horses, nobody wants a car because horses are great and we're used to them and they can eat grass and there's lots of grass all over the place, and there's no gasoline that people can buy, so people are never gonna get cars.
Right.
People did say that, and for batteries, they would say, it's going to cost, historically it's cost $600 per kilowatt hour, and so it's not going to be much better than that in the future. And you say, no, okay, well, what are the batteries made of? So first principles would be to say, okay, what are the material constituents of the batteries? What is the spot market value of the material constituents? So you can say, okay, it's got cobalt, nickel, aluminum, carbon, and some polymers for separation, and a steel can. So break that down on a material basis and say, okay, if we bought that in the London Metal Exchange, what would each of those things cost? Like, geez,
I find
it's like
it really
$80
hard to like
per kilowatt hour. So
use this when dealing with like people.
Project.
Actually, that's really insightful because I think this part of the brain where we collect all sorts of data and then make an assumption about it was actually designed to help us interact with other people. Like it's designed to help us evaluate people in a social setting. I mean, that's what I was told in an evolutionary biology class, that our mind is like trying to figure out how to build societies, and we had to evolve things that would evaluate, people around us and make assumptions about them without us having to be at risk befriending the wrong person or marrying the wrong person or following the wrong leader.
But you think the first principle, or at least what you think this first principles method is, you think it's how you think it? Oh my God, sorry.
It's just about bias, right? It's like the human mind, it's really hard to look at things without bias by design. That's why machine learning is so cool, because machine learning you can use to look at systems without bias. And that's why machine learning in sports is so popular now, because it helps, like, for example, scouts choose the right player, without bias, because it's a machine learning system. So there's no like inherent,
Oh, okay. I understand what you're
bias
saying.
built in.
I think the value of what Elon said was that if you start from a position where it's like, what do we know for sure about this, and then can we build off of that, you sort of ignore the inherent like biases and the tendency of the mind to like go towards like the what's comfortable, and that process takes an enormous amount of energy compared to like just calling up your normal assumptions about that subject and just going with them.
Yeah. I think the way the reason I responded, I responded with that is because it took so much energy and so much like brain power that I couldn't actually do it. Like right now at 3 a.m., like it just wasn't possible to me, and I was just like, oh God, like.
Yeah, I did the same thing on the Jordan Peterson thing where I like took that 1 minute clip and I'm like, oh, maybe this guy is like full of shit, instead of like really looking into it and like trusting to try to find out what was really true. He said this way better. I picked a bad interview. He said
he's God, Elon is as bad at public speaking as I am.
He's gotten better, but now he's like caught up. I think like you've been following like what he's been doing lately, right?
Yeah.
He's gone a little crazy. I mean, he's like, I think he's just having a hard time with like all the power, and like that combined with the fact that he's like spending a huge amount of time working and doesn't have like any kind of like personal life or fulfillment. It seems like he's like sleeping on the factory floor. Yeah, it's like his life's like crazy right now.
What the fuck?
Remember when we met him?
What exactly happened though? What is making people not like him? I don't have the context.
Yeah, he's just started going really ham on Twitter. So like he called a guy a pedophile on Twitter.
Did he actually?
Yeah, he did.
You guys just went through the X-ray machine.
Oh, and we survived.
Sorry, I was out. Yeah, good job. Who are we talking about?
We're talking about
ham on Twitter.
We're talking about Elon going kind of off the rails on Twitter. Yeah. So here's the big thing.
A pedophile?
Yeah, let me like back it up and provide the whole context. Okay, so a bunch of Thai kids got stuck in a cave.
Yep.
Yeah, and they couldn't get out. So Elon goes to the rescue, and he decides he's gonna build some fucking crazy ass submarine where it's apparently gonna like go through the contours of the cave and save the kids. In the meantime, the Navy SEALs show up in Thailand, and under the guidance of another Navy SEAL that is really experienced with the cave system, just fucking get him out. They just do it. And then Elon's like whole magic submarine thing doesn't work. So apparently Elon invited himself to this Thai cave, and then like got into this tiff with this diving expert, this guy that was a British diving expert but living in Thailand, and it was like a cave diver and very familiar with these caves. And the cave diver asserts that he was asked to leave and that he was kind of irrelevant. And Elon asserts that like he was like on the cusp of like Elon's practically tweeting like, put those kids back in the cave so I can prove that I can save them. And like at this point, the British diver kind of comes out and says, look, Elon didn't really know what he was talking about. And his submarine wouldn't have fucking worked anyway because there's all these contours and like things in the cave. It wouldn't have even fit. Elon's like a complete idiot. And Elon responds, I guess I won't even paraphrase it. Elon pedo guy tweet. Let's look at it. Elon responds, oh, this is apologizes over pedo guy tweet. Let's see if we can find the exact tweet. Can someone link it if I can't find it? Because now all the news is talking about his apology. Wait. Yes, we understand that. Is this it?
You won't find the tweet. He deleted it.
I mean, will find the tweet.
If something I said like 2 years ago,
I found it.
Yeah.
It says, you know what? Don't bother showing. Okay, so he goes, water level was actually very low, not flowing. You could literally have swum to cave 5 with no gear, which is obviously how the kids got on. If not true, I challenge this dude to show final rescue video. Huge credit to Pump and Jitter team. Unsung heroes here. You know what? Don't bother showing the video. We will make one of the mini sub pod going all the way to cave 5. No problemo. Sorry, pedo guy. You really did ask for it.
Pedo guy?
Yeah, pedo guy.
Wait, that's a follow-up tweet because there was an earlier tweet where he insinuated that this guy's interest in the kids was because he might be a pedophile. Who knows? It seems like, oh, you seem overly interested in these kids, like showing up here.
Jesus.
Kinda, that was the original tweet. And this is like the double down.
Oh shit.
Oh.
Okay. Oh my god. Never saw this British expat guy who lives in Thailand sus, which means like supposedly.
That's it. No, suspicious.
Yeah. Oh, suspicious. At any point when we were in the caves.
Sorry, suspect. My bad.
Suspect, yeah. Only people, and then he doesn't say the rest of it. And then like this guy says he's gonna like sue the shit out of Elon and stuff, and like, yeah.
Huh.
Never. Okay, only people who were in sight were the Thai Navy Army guys. The Navy SEALs escorted us in, total opposite of wanting us to leave. Yeah.
So the TLDR is Elon got
booty blasted that he wanted to build the magic submarine to save these children. The Navy SEAls just went in and fucking did it. The guys got, yeah.
The guy said Elon's just doing it for publicity, and he couldn't have done it anyway. Elon, in retaliation, called him a pedophile.
Yeah, that's basically what happened. Yeah.
Yikes.
Yikes is right. And I guess he's been kind of going off the rails a little bit ever since then.
You know, I feel like if anyone else fucked up that hard, they'd be like, their career is over. But Elon has what I call social capital. It's these little chips that you save up. And it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong in a situation, but if you have enough of these chips, you can just cheat. You know, like you just live. You get an extra life or 10 extra lives.
Is that like the difference between Louis C.K. and like all these other guys who?
Oh yeah, it's the same
jack
thing.
off on women.
Actually, yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's such a good analogy. Holy shit. Yeah, Louis C.K. totally got off of it. But to Louis C.K.'s, I'm a big apologist for Louis C.K., but like, I don't know. I think it's really different to like drug a woman and drag her into your hotel room rather than like stand in the corner and cry jerking off while like she watches you. I think that's a different level of harassment.
Yeah, the conversation is going to get more nuanced. You know,
yeah.
There needs to be different conversation and understanding between like rape, violent rape.
Yeah.
Like,
George, have you seen?
Yeah,
Right.
and then just like, and then harassment, right? And then
there's this amazing
and then
meme.
harassment, like what Louis C.K. did, versus harassment versus like what Netflix is talking about, where you make eye contact, right?
Yeah,
That's like different.
totally.
And then harassment from people in power. I mean, that's the other problem. I think the reason people question him so much is because he was in a power position, and so it's like they didn't really have free choice if they want to keep their jobs, or they didn't know if they did, that kind of thing. Versus, so it's like that just mucks it all up. I think that the conversation is going to get a lot more nuanced.
So wait, what exactly did he do? Because I heard that
he just asked if he could jack off in front of his employees that would watch him, or
And
if
they
he could do it
said
on
yes.
them, and then he would do it.
So yeah, Weldon's
Or
right.
sometimes
So,
he didn't ask.
oh yeah. Sometimes he didn't ask. Like, but the basic premise is like Louis C.K. has such low self-esteem that like Weldon had it right. Like he basically asked to jack off in front of his like female employees and like coworkers, and then they like thought it was a joke and they kind of like nervously laughed, and then he just like literally just started jacking off to finish, and he's like crying, and it's like this really kind of crazy pathetic thing, and there's like a bunch of instances of this. Yeah. And so like he got a lot of shit for that, but then he kind of got out of it. Yeah, he got out of it because I think the scale wasn't as bad as like the Weinstein memes. There's a great meme going on in Steven's community right now because Eris, Steven's ex-girlfriend and roommate, got banned for wearing
I heard about that.
wearing a yoga shirt. Yeah, so she got. There was a guy in her chat that said, I'm squeezing my hog to this. I'm going to keep doing it even if you ban me. And so this became a copy pasta.
Oh yeah.
And
Is that where it came from?
Yes, 100% it came from Eris's chat. For like it was actually not a troll. It was it was like legitimately a dude that was like saying this. And in Eris's Medium article, she wrote like, look at the harassment I'm getting, this kind of thing. And then this became like a total meme that even she's okay with now. I know it's exploded over Twitch. It's become like a fucking viral meme. But that's literally what Louis C.K. was doing. He was squeezing his hog, whether you asked him or not. But he never really troubled the women. He just kind of stood there and jerked off crying while they watched him. What a fucking world.
Holy fucking shit. That's why you can never actually look. You can never look at celebrities or people of extreme influence as like demigods or like people of higher authority, because at the end of the day, they're getting blowjobs from their secretary.
Yep.
Quietly jacking off in a corner while crying. Like they're just people at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's like hard to.
I guess he was lonely.
I think like he's a very troubled soul.
I don't know. This guy had a fucking Netflix series about his life being depressing and alone.
I read a really interesting thought piece about the problem of actually this made me think of it. You triggered me when you said, "Oh, maybe he's a troubled individual," and then I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember this thought piece about the issue we have immediately labeling things as disordered when a lot of this behavior is in the realm of like normal human behavior. We should see these people as normal people and as a big problem. When we label like all this behavior as aberrant and pretend that it's not going to happen, then it doesn't help solve the problem of teaching normal people how not to do this stuff that's not actually crazy. It's just like a normal extension of human behavior.
Wait, so do you think the proper
the premise was like, stop trying to label all these people who are doing these crazy things as crazy, because it's just othering them, and then you're saying, oh, they're not like me, I could never do that, or my friend could never do that, or when in reality like you could. And mostly it was about World War II. It's about like the Nazis saying like, oh, you shouldn't say that they're like, you would never do that, or that they were totally crazy, evil people. They weren't. They were normal people. They committed atrocities, horrible atrocities on their fellow humans. And they came up with normal psychological ways of justifying it in their normal lives. And like, that's the terrifying thing. So like, we shouldn't label the crazy Trumpers like crazy. I think it was a politically motivated piece, but then the discussion around it got very psychological. We shouldn't label crazy people in the political spectrum as crazies because they're just finding ways of justifying things that like other normal people could too, and it's just going to go like it's going to keep going. It's not going to. It's you can't ignore it like maybe Germany ignored, their right wing until it went off the deep end.
So you're saying
that kind of thing?
by putting these people in another category and saying like, okay, you're like a deranged individual, you're giving them...
you're dumber or you're crazy or you're stupider or these kinds of things where you other them. Like actually know that they're using the same tools and systems that you are to justify your behavior, and so you have to believe that other people are also capable of that, and it's not just going to be like a minority fringe. And treating them like that means that you can't ever work on. I guess it's the same argument that George made about the Jordan Peterson thing, which is like, if we can't debate these topics and we can't bring it up and like learn how to converse about them, then it's actually hard to fight against them because they're never spoken about. There's kind of like, you just kind of believe something and you don't have an inquisitive mind towards it, and then you don't learn how to defend against it or for it, or why you believe it in the first place. You just assume it to be a true of some belief that you have about that might be a social contract or like might be just like a part of your biology, and then when it starts kind of going off the rails, there's no social discourse in society that allows it to be stopped.
Yeah, that's the scary thing. Is like, when does that pendulum swing in terms of like heading back in the realm of like critical thinking and being able to have
I love that.
Thoughtful discussion.
Well, at the same time, most people don't jerk off in front of random females, right? So
it's true.
So there's some
but I think the question is, could most people who are, if a normal person was exactly Louis C.K., what percentage of them would end up doing the exact same thing? Maybe that's a better like thought experiment. Like just take the average like male and like stick them in exactly Louis C.K.'s life up to that point. How many of them would end up doing what he's doing? Like, you know what I mean?
Sort of, but would they be Louis C.K. in that instance, and they would just do the exact same thing every time?
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe with your own genetics, but
yeah,
Louis C.K.'s life. Maybe starting at age 20, maybe starting at age 10. Oh, if we could do this experiment, we'd know where the malfunction came from.
I feel like my generation will be like the... how old are you, Weldon? I'm not sure.
35. 1982.
Are you technically in the boomer generation, or
no? I'm actually like the very, very, very first millennial.
Okay.
The first
like the early 80s, born in the early 80s. So basically, the definition of millennial is grown up native with technology, right? So I grew up with I use so there's this like in between like pre-millennial millennials, which I think you guys might fall under. I'm not really sure, but
1994
it's like this,
is like when Gen Z, like the millennium.
So we're like the betwixters or whatever between like the 70 people and the millennials. So basically, this is what classifies my generation. You grew up using a dial phone, like the kind that you spin, or you have to like push the lever for the operator to pick up or whatever. And through, and you also grew up using like a cell phone. So like I use technology natively, but I also grew up using a phone that you had to like spin the thing on and like talk to the operator to get connected.
Yeah.
I have memories of that when I was like, 7 years old in the kitchen, like stretching out the cable all the way to my room so I could sit there in the bed and talk to my friend for hours.
So
and then everybody yelling, "Get off the phone, God damn. You gotta connect with the phone."
The big problem I feel like at least that's happening within universities, and like this is actually like one of the things that I've heard just from that interview, Jordan Peterson like really being opposed to, is being able to have conversation without feeling like you'll be kind of attacked for having a position, right? And I feel like my generation is not doing a good job at to look at things with an inquisitive mind, and they're just trapped in their like belief system. And I think like when one of the things that like really scares me is when you look at like the voter demographics for younger people. I think we're like 98% blue.
Yeah.
And to me, like it's showing like a uniform way of thinking. And I think at some point, like there's good and bad to like both sides. And it's going to be very hard to have the conversations about like, you know, the other side of the table.
I think I should just in case to clear up any bias. Like I try to be non-biased, but I'm a very fearful person when I look at Jordan Peterson. Like I'm very, very critical whenever I'm listening to things he says, because I'm terrified of him and his like mission or whatever it is he's doing. So
that's really interesting.
Just so you know, but I thought that the way that he put that particular point was very interesting and valid. That like we should be able to have these conversations. Like for example, the ability to debate communism versus capitalism in the academic sphere. I think that some of his examples are really relegated to his sphere. Like that's not a problem in, you know, maybe other institutions or other cultures. Like especially in Finland where I live now. But I think that the question of critical thinking is largely a school-based one, because like I said, it's not a normal way to think without bias, like this first principles thing, but it is a normal way to think at the research level in university. When you do a research piece, the whole point of like the scientific process is to remove bias and then understand all of your assumptions and then understand the premise of all of your assumptions and then to lay them out as a theoretical framework. You lay out your theoretical framework, then you make a hypothesis, a predictable hypothesis, then you test your hypothesis using an experiment, an active control group, and in a randomized control trial. And that's the whole like this kind of way of thinking isn't natural to the brain, I don't think. That's why Greeks put a lot of store in like trying to train it up as a system of thinking. So I think in this case, we could say either that the school system is a little bit failing in teaching kids critical thinking, which I believe is true because this is my wife's field. She's an educational researcher, and the book that she wants to write is about how the schools are failing to teach our kids critical thinking, and that's like one of their main things, right?
Okay.
Because the research is really clear on that. But it could also be that you learn critical thinking, like it's hard to learn critical thinking as a kid, and you learn it as you grow and as you age and as you mature. But one of the big differences now is that kids are amplified in the amount of impact that they can have in society with their uncritical thinking voices. Because it didn't used to be that like, you know, a bunch of 12 to 16-year-olds could weigh in on a topic online and make changes in policy in a company or corporation that was like run by a bunch of 40, 50, 60-year-olds that spanned a bunch of countries. You know, like that didn't used to be the case, but now it is. That policy is influenced by like the opinions of anonymous people whose age we can't determine and who may be too young to be good critical thinkers in the first place. And I think that maybe society will have to figure out a way to like think about the fact that we can't expect people to think critically until they are of a certain age. And now we have social media, so we get to hear their opinions anyway.
Yikes, that's going to be a major do. In terms of, I'm not sure, how much do you know about like IQ and it being like a relevant testing method?
Oh yeah, this is interesting.
I mean, it's they try to make IQ like impervious to what is it? You know, different tests and different socioeconomic status, to make it like a true measure.
Yeah.
I think they probably do a better job than almost any other test so it makes sense. But it's not very well correlated with things like success. Like, for example, grandmasters in chess typically have lower IQ than high rankers in chess. So if
Really?
you look at like success in some of the academic pursuits, even, it's not really well correlated with IQ in the first place, even though IQ might be a more valid measure of whatever it is it's measuring, you know? So I think IQ might be a valid measure of IQ. And so that's cool because then we can see how IQ changes across time, and we can see how IQ changes across gender, and we can like measure that. But then implicating it with things in society, I think that's where the dangerous part lies.
So like with the military saying like we cannot actually use people below 85 IQ.
Well, there is a cutoff. That's a smart way of thinking. Like, instead of saying like, okay, high Q has a dose response relationship where the higher that it gets, the more impactful you get at something, it's better to think about it in terms of like a cutoff point at the low end. I think that's a smart way of putting it.
Yeah, so the reference he's referring to is the U.S. military won't employ anybody or accept anybody into military that has 83 or lower IQ.
You cut off a little, but he said at 85 or lower IQ.
83 or lower IQ, yeah, will not
83?
be accepted into the military at all. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is how many percent of Americans?
10%, 10 to 11%. Yeah. Maybe.
Do you know if IQ can change, Weldon?
Yeah, it can, and it's been shown recently it's increasing through time. I don't think that's recent. I think that's been observed for a while, that it's like our IQ in general is increasing. And of course, you can improve your IQ by studying for the test. That's true. That's true of many psychometrics and psychological tests. Is that one of the problems with testing is how unique is this test? Meaning, can it be trained for or not? And IQ is, of course, a test that can be trained for, so you can influence a score that way. Whether or not that changes anything internally like if you were to let it reset and just take a naked measure, like your prepping wouldn't necessarily change whatever it is that IQ is trying to measure, I think is the argument.
There's some argument to be made that there's a difference between ability and knowledge. That like you can improve your knowledge of a subject, and then that will help you utilize what you have more efficiently, but that doesn't
which is
alter your ability. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, I see that like 100% of the time. Like, people read all these books, like, and then they don't change their behavior. Exactly what George said.
Yeah,
that's exactly the problem. Everybody's seeking knowledge because it's stimulating and exciting to learn something new. And I actually, so this may sound like a sellout, but I'm just trying to use it to explain the point. I have this online course, and people are always messaging me when they start, and they're like, "Oh, this is so interesting! Like, I want to watch a bunch of sessions in a day because it's so interesting to hear the lecture. Can I listen to more than one in a day?" My answer is 100% no, always, because what you're doing is you're chasing the adrenaline rush and this, the dopamine rush of learning that new thing and having that insight and feeling that in your brain when you read it, but you're not changing anything about you or your behavior. And the goal of the course is to change like your intrinsic, wiring with the world. How does you react to stuff? So that takes really usually hard, laborious kind of like annoying work that feels sweaty and stressful and painful, and you have to discipline yourself, and you have to think about the same topics that you heard lectured about earlier that were so exciting when you heard them. You just have to reflect on them and deploy them in your life, and do the hard work of changing your immediate reactions and your assumptions. And that, I think, is what you would say is ability. And then knowledge, I think that's a huge problem. People are just seeking knowledge and because it's fun for the brain, and then nobody ever uses it.
Damn, that's a really cool point. Holy, I wrote a bunch of that down.
So I always tell them, you can watch one video and then you have to spend the rest of the day. You can rewatch the video as much as you want. You have to spend the rest of the day working on finding the topics of that video in your life, which is like minute to minute, not like thinking about the last year, but like in that day. That's the hard work, and it's going to feel like work.
Course for it? Who are the typical participants?
It's like exactly what I did with CLG. and TSM actually was the mindfulness acceptance commitment program, like the
So
one I did
mostly gamers, right?
2015, like between spring and summer split.
Mostly
guys.
gamer participant.
I mean, the actual protocol was developed for mindfulness-based performance enhancement for sport. So it's it's for performance enhancement in sport and life, right? I market it to gamers because I'm in this community. So it's like there's a little bit of language for the esports community, but there's like the fundamental principles for performance enhancement in your life, basically.
I wonder if like this is a symptom of the gamer archetype, or the people that exist that live to play games.
Oh my god, yeah.
More so that it is like an initial like behavior of like I want to say normal person, but a person that doesn't play video games.
I think it's I think it's definitely a little bit gendered. Like we notice that among boys growing up that they're really sucked into the persuasive psychology components of online games and the ding, 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 ding notifications. And we notice with girls that they're more tending to go to social networks and get the ding, 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 ding of like social, stimulus. They're both really damaging psychologically, and you have to learn how to like resist them for your health. I mean, adults over the age of 25 are much more resilient to this. Kids, I think it's a lot scarier question, like how much are we actually think this? But I think that that's a valid point to bring up, although I noticed it myself. So my counter argument is like, well, I do that, but then I realized that your counter argument would be like, well, you're a gamer, so what's your point?
Yeah, I have a huge problem with procrastination that I just can't seem to solve no matter like what I do. And I've tried like all kinds of things like building urgency or like social contracts and like all kinds of things, and I just have a very hard time with it. And I wonder if that's not a function of like me being a gamer and like me having that, or if it's just like a function of like something else, or just like who I am. It's really hard to tell.
I'm a procrastinator too. So people ask me like, how do you stop procrastinating? I'm like, don't ask me.
Yeah, I wish I fucking knew.
I'm a gamer.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Do you feel like most gamers that you work with have like a typical lack of discipline?
Yeah, I think that there's like 3 classes that I run into. One is the hyper competitive injured athlete who is super disciplined. They have vast emotional reserves and they have strong social networks and they were elite performer and they injured themselves, but they need to express themselves competitively so badly that they went to video games.
Oh.
And then there's the people who are gamers and they were like had all these deficiencies in their brain. I would say deficiencies. That's the wrong word. Obviously, what I mean is they grew up and they avoided things. They avoided life. They avoided school. They avoided relationships. They avoided responsibility. They avoided whatever, and they avoided it into video games because that's the easiest thing to do all the time. And then they somehow all of a sudden became elite gamers because they played a lot of video games, while they were avoiding other stuff. And then they became a pro, and then they had to learn discipline and training and rigor and emotional resilience and all that stuff.
Attempt to learn.
So if you look at the people who retire out of esport, most of the ones are the ones who like came up and they avoided life into video games to the point where they were a pro, and then pro got too serious and they kind of just left.
Mm.
And then there's the ones who adapted.
Class?
I lied. There's only 2, or maybe there's a third. I don't know. I was trying to think of one. Maybe they'll be girls.
Maybe, I don't know. It doesn't seem to be a trend. Huh.
I just got a message the other day from some girl who's like, I'm committed to being the first to show that it's possible. I'm super competitive.
Oh,
I get those messages a lot.
My actually biggest excitement in esports will be seeing like the first really good competitive gamer.
Girl gamer?
So yeah.
Did you do that white paper? Like you've been pushing for this for years. You were one of the first people to like try to author a community-based white paper on like how it is to tackle this problem.
Yep. Yeah, I tried to, and then it fell under the one, I don't think the support was really there, but also I wasn't as passionate about it as like other things at the time.
The scene
Like,
wasn't really ready for it either at the time either.
We just don't understand the problem in the first place.
Yeah, maybe that. Mm-hmm.
I think I've done a lot of talking with people, and I like always get these conclusions, but I never fucking write them. I need to at some point put more effort into it. But yeah, that's been like my at least esports dream for the past while. Personally, I feel
incorporate girl gamers.
No, just to even see like
To see that it would happen.
See that it would happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because like we have this like belief that esport is going to be the great leveling competitive field of our generation, that it's going to make it so like if you lost your leg in war or you injured your shoulder as a swimmer, you can go onto the esport field and you can compete as an equal. There's no disability, and it would be so beautiful if like esport is the first like major global competitive arena where like gender doesn't matter anymore because your avatar is the same height, strength, muscular tone or whatever as somebody with testosterone pumping through them.
Mm-hmm.
That's 10 times your level. And I think that's like a beautiful vision, right? But until it happens, it's just hope.
Yeah. And so then it gets in, like people I've said this on stream before, and people go to like actually there have been in StarCraft there was one fairly competitive StarCraft 2 player. I think there's only been like
who are you
one
thinking of?
true.
The Canadian girl who just won the tournament in Korea.
Scarlet?
Okay, so this is where it gets a little tricky.
Yep,
okay.
It does.
You know what I'm going to say right here.
Yep. I do.
So if you start, God, I'm so scared of saying this stuff, even though it's like it should be okay to at least discuss.
It is okay to discuss. Yeah, just don't make any like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you start biologically as a guy, right, and you have like all the like characteristics, and then you just identify as a girl.
I feel like I can help you out here. But let me provide a very objective example where this is true. Okay, so if you start off as a guy, and then you change over to a girl, and then you fight in the UFC. Okay, there are situations, and like Rogan will talk about this as like in his opinion is a huge problem because girls are just getting the shit beat out of them by like genetically stronger males, right? And this is like a huge problem in that industry.
The funny thing, well, it's not even funny. The thing is, there are there's a much smaller group of transgender people that have been successful at the top level of video games in many different categories, but we have yet to see a hardcore successful female gamer outside of like maybe one person in Korea.
The support player?
No, not a support player. She figured out in Oblivion. It was actually StarCraft 2 player back in like the Jaedong Besu days.
Yeah.
I can't remember her name. She's cute too. It'll come back to me.
It is weird how there hasn't been an instance of more females excelling in gaming. That's a really strange thing that I can't figure out.
I think that my favorite way to think about this problem is with the book. Like, go out and get the book Top Dog: The Science of Winning and Losing, and check out the chapter on gender.
Yeah,
this is a book that tries to explore like the biology of top performance from like a scientific point of view, and it's written by a scientist, co-authored by a science journalist, and they do a great job of trying to strip away all the dramatic findings and just present like what's really there, even if it's very minute and small and not very interesting and exciting, but they find a way to make it exciting, you know?
Yeah.
And the one on gender is very interesting. And I think that you can draw a lot of parallels into esport, and I'll let everybody in the audience kind of like figure it out on their own, because I don't want to like put any like preconceived ideas into people's heads over like the information they're going to find in that chapter, and then how they think it applies to esport in particular, to explain why female esport athletes cannot crack through the glass ceiling at this point.
You know what I think is a really interesting thought about this? This is something I don't think is talked about often, and I've never talked to you about this, George, because this is something that I've just come into understanding recently. The amount of harassment that girls get online from guys is actually insane. And I bet it's a gate to like getting involved in these communities at a high level for a lot of them. You think that it's like just a thing that it's like, oh, like it's not really that big of a deal, but it's like literally every game you join in like an FPS, like CSGO or something, someone's like, haha, girl gamer, and like starts memeing you. Like that would like drive me
kind of is a
batshit.
big girl, because like if I think about the players I work with,
yeah,
they start as rookies, and then they come out of their little cocoon of nobody knows who they are, and they start to get, you know, fan feedback on Reddit, and it's like 99% of what I have to deal with on a daily basis. It just destroys people, right?
Yeah.
But like, and a lot of them can't hack it, and they literally like, you know, their performance declines for like seasons until they can figure out how to manage their performance life and the feedback that they get online. Well, they get to pro level, and then they start that system. Whereas like, yeah, females have to deal with it right out of the gate.
Yeah,
as soon as you go online. So I think like the first pro female gamers are going to be ones that like literally like choose the name George for their like, not George, sorry George, like Jake for their online persona name, and then just never ever stream. You know, never do anything. They just get to high rank on the ladder. They don't have a Twitter. They don't have anything. They're just like rank 1 through 100 on the ladder until they get recruited by an agent, and that's it. You know, just using the objective reality.
They don't do any comms.
Like, sure, yeah.
They won't talk to their team.
I don't know. Are there voice change mods?
Yeah, actually pretty effective ones. But like, you think they'll go to that extent to avoid that harassment?
No, I would say I bet that the first professionals are going to be the ones who come without any brands and without anybody knowing them from the ladder. They just like beasted their way to high rank, and they didn't ever try to navigate the politics of gaming, and so they were, you know, they were in the cocoon until the latest possible moment.
That's crazy.
Because I bet that that's a hindering factor.
It definitely is.
So cocoon it up, girls. Cocoon it up.
Yeah.
Huh.
You know what? One of the funny things. Oh shoot! You guys can probably hear my airplane now.
No, it's all good.
No, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
It's like actually like your mic is like amazing. Like, yeah.
One of the funny things about I didn't really get to finish this before. There's a lull. You know how I said that like my program attracts like gamers mostly, right? And the outcome is they want performance enhancement. The most hilarious thing is I usually get 2 outcomes from the program. One of them is that people get slightly better at the game, you know, and that could be placebo effects. I don't know, you know, because they're like actually trying and they're paying money to like try to learn some sports psychology or whatever. The other outcome that people quit. They're like, hey, yeah, it's in your program, and like I just haven't played a game for like the last 6 months. You know, I went and got a job, and I went and did all these other things. Like, it's gotten to the point where the amount of people that actually quit completely playing video games after they do my program, I feel like I should put either a warning label on it or like a promise. You know, like I'm terrified to bring it into the marketing aspect of it though, because like people don't want. It's like a Trojan horse. You know what I mean? It's like a good outcome in a way. If you look at why it is that some
bad for money.
But on the other hand, like I feel like nobody would buy the program if that was the advertised point of it.
This will make you quit playing video games. Wow.
I wanted to get your opinion on it because George, you were the person that stopped me from playing video games, like in my life.
Really? How?
Yeah, I played video games 1 to 2 hours a night pretty much my entire life up until I got the job with CLG. And from that point on, I was so busy like doing esport that I stopped playing esport. And since then, I really haven't played video games like at all, ever.
What?
I thought you were gonna
It's all your fault.
I thought you were gonna go into like, I spent years watching this guy, and I was like, fuck no, I'd never want to be like him. But no, that's actually crazy.
So my wife thanks you, more or less.
Do you remember Chris Chan from CLG?
Chris Chan?
Yeah, or Chris Hahn. Chris Hahn. Whoa,
Hahn,
fucking
yeah.
Chris Hahn. Sorry.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. So Chris Hahn has become a working individual and hardly plays games anymore.
Oh, he
'Cause
really?
He's like, yeah, he's got into the rhythm of like productive being, at least in his frame of mind currently, that like he doesn't find as much value in games anymore.
He reads like a shitload of manga and stuff, doesn't he? Like if you ask him how, like,
No, I don't think he does.
I think he does.
That's wild.
My question to someone like Weldon, like that's like, yeah, I don't play games anymore, is like, well, like, if you took a 24
I just watch
hour...
YouTube instead.
What's that?
Yeah, you're right. I just watch YouTube and read manga
Yeah,
instead.
yeah, that would be my question. Is like, is that actually time? This is what I discover with people that stop playing video games. Is they don't necessarily like stop. Like they don't necessarily become like more productive people. Like, yeah, you should ask Chris like what he does. Like, Chris had that talk with me, and he's like, yeah, dude, like I've been like not really playing video games. I'm just not that interested. And he's like, I read manga for like 4 hours a night.
Okay.
So I don't know if he's like suddenly become like a more productive human being. This is actually when I was at CLG, except for like a brief stint on Eve, I mostly gave up on video games, and I was mostly just like, but like I don't know if I actually became a more productive person as a result of it. I think I just wasted my time on different things. One of the things I'm noticing is like I watch like way too much YouTube. And I actually stopped.
You and me both.
Yeah, dude, I do that. And like, do you watch like a lot of the like the nonfiction, like really interesting YouTube stuff?
Dude, I just go down the rabbit hole. I don't even know.
Okay, I can do that too. Yeah.
It's like related
Fuck.
videos to the death of me. Freaking algorithm.
Yeah.
Curses.
The algorithm will take me from like DC comic stuff to like really interesting nonfiction stuff about intermittent fasting to like some streamer memes. But yeah, like I just waste time differently. So I was like, well, shit, I might as well be doing something I truly enjoy, like playing video games, because why should I waste my time doing something I don't even enjoy as much because I don't get the satisfaction from YouTube?
For me, it's really simple. It's like it sounds really complex for you, and that is a debate that's worthy. And you probably should just play video games because at least there's value in the competition, right? Compared to pure escapism. But if you're a parent, you just need to be able to extract yourself immediately and go deal with something. And so video games just stop working because like unless it's a super casual phone game, you just can't do it with kids. Now I have 4 kids. So
4 kids
it's like
is bananas.
What are you doing, Weldon? You're
bananas.
like pumping them out, dude.
This guy's
this is
fucking
how
around
it works
the clock.
if you just have sex and don't use protection. I don't know what to tell you. Use a condom.
Yikers. Okay, we will be sure to delete the VOD.
Weldon's scoring around the clock, dude.
No, it's all with my wife, so it's not really a...
We yeah. Just,
No,
Don't you remember that? Don't you remember that
we-
American? What was it? American Pie 2 or American Pie 3? When the guy was like, chasing chasing tail the whole movie, and then the dude with the girlfriend was like, "Why you spend all your time trying to score, and like I have a steady girlfriend and I get it every night, or whatever." Like,
yeah.
that's the meme, right? Just get married.
Are you
solved. Or
done?
get-
Are you
yeah, you don't
gonna
have to get married, but-
stop having these kids?
We're done. They told me, yeah, she said go get a vasectomy, but the line in Finland, because it's public medicine, the line for a vasectomy is like 2 years long or something.
What?
So I don't know what I'm gonna do.
What?
What do you mean the line?
Like the wait list for whatever for getting a vasectomy. I don't know if there's just like one doctor or he just like does one a week or what his problem is, but it's not very essential of a service. So
Huh.
That's insane.
I think they just want you to go pay to get done in the private system mostly.
I've called I think 4 different offices, 5 for both for a gastroenterologist. I think
What's
that's
that?
what it's called. Gastroenterologist, actually. He basically
In
it's for my
Canada?
acid. No, in the US. For my acid reflux. And just even dentists, right? And I've either called during business hours and no one picked up, and I left a message, or they like the one dentist that I called was like a 4-month wait.
Whoa.
4-month wait. And I
In
was like,
Los
"What the
Angeles?
fuck is-" Yeah. So I've been like I have a bad acid reflux issue, and I put in effort to like call all these gastro people, and still have not been able to get a hold of one of them. And I leave messages, I call different places. Like I don't know what the fuck is going on with this health system, but at least in Finland you can get on the waiting list and you'll be clipped in 2 years, dude. I don't even know when I'm gonna get my shit figured out.
What are you looking to?
They're really good here at the normal stuff. It's just the like optional stuff. But that sounds horrible, man. I mean, oh, you know what you need is you need Mylixia's intermittent fasting meta-analysis podcast to tell you what to eat to change it, right?
Yep.
I'm sure he'll dig up the science.
If there is any.
Eating doesn't seem like the foods I
It's
eat.
not related to food.
No, I think it has to do something with like a valve not clamping or something.
Why would a dentist
you
help
can
you?
accelerate that stuff by just going to the hospital if you have insurance. Just be like, I can't stand the pain, and then they'll actually just look into it. It'll be way more expensive, but if you have insurance,
Even more hilarious too. I've like messaged this insurance company like 3 different times to help me get on a plan, including I just sent an email today. Hopefully she responded, but I cannot get insurance either.
Oh man.
So,
welcome to America.
Yeah.
like I think everybody that works in the fucking health industry is like incompetent,
Doesn't
or
give a
just, like,
fuck. Yeah.
doesn't give one fuck.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
It actually is really insane.
I'm really sorry to hear that. That's really sad. Both to me as a patriot for America and also just for your own general well-being.
I thought you just like if you have money, you're good, dude. You can just like first class seat to Capitalismville, you know?
You know, that's probably true. It's just that your relative income in LA isn't high enough to pretend that you have money.
Well,
right?
George, your problem is
like if you were in Kentucky, George, you'd be set. But you're in LA, so they're all like serving movie stars or something.
George, I can help. This is where I know many things. You need a private primary care physician. That's
right.
Yeah,
that's what you need.
That is what you need. If you get a private primary care physician, you will be treated.
It's the dude you just go to all the time.
Yep.
And
like
your dude,
fucking
his
king.
Dude, and you like just show up whenever you want.
Yeah.
Kind of. You can call and be like, get an appointment next week, and he has your whole medical history, and you go to him every year for your physical. And,
yep.
Or her, or it.
Yep. And this is the answer. Like you get a primary care physician that's private, and then
they have all the connections for the specialists.
Yes, exactly.
They have the connections. So then you see them and they diagnose you, then they refer you in, and you get a
physician. I'm gonna type this shit on Yelp.
Yes.
Right now.
This is
and you let their office schedule the gastrointestinal thing.
Yep.
From their office for the specialist that partners with them.
Yeah, so what'll happen is you go to your PCP, okay? They know everything about you. You go to them for anything. Then they have all the connections, like Weldon said, to like all the best specialists, and they just refer you out to a person, and you're literally you have your problem solved next week.
Family practice or internal medicine?
Family practice.
Yeah.
Is like family practice sounds right because it's not pediatrics, that's kids.
What's internal medicine? Internal medicine versus family.
Everything that's not your skin? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's just like a general dude. Yeah.
Oh, so it says we're all primary care physicians, but the biggest difference medicine doctors are like adult pediatricians. Internal medicine physician cures for adults. A family practitioner is a pediatrician and Eternalists combined into one specialty who cares for both children and adults.
Oh, so if you get a family care dude and then you have kids, then you can just keep going to the same dude.
Kappa?
A girl?
Me not get kids. So do I just go with internal medicine? Or do you think like the family physician's going to be like on the higher tier because they can do both?
I think you'll just go to the office and there'll be like 700 crying babies there.
Yeah, I agree.
Now that for me, that's not a problem. I don't care. But some people that irritates them.
It just depends on what
On.
you're looking for, George. But what you need is a private doctor, and this is something that like all rich people do. They get a private primary care physician, and they're good.
Got it. Okay, so I need to find my.
Actually, I think that's pretty normal in the U.S. Like
It
I
is.
grew up, we just had the same dude.
Yeah.
We weren't rich. We were just middle class.
I just move around all the time, so it's like been hard to. Okay, so I need to. Okay, because I've been calling specialists all the time.
You can't go to a specialist generally. They don't give a shit unless you have a referral from a normal doctor. It's really weird how that works in America, but that's how it is.
Okay.
It's actually so stupid.
Wait, that makes a lot of sense to hear because in Finland they do the same thing. Like you could like stab yourself through the leg with like an iron girder, and
Yeah.
you'd go to like the surgeon. They'd be like, "I'm sorry, you need to go to your local health center first and get diagnosed, and they will refer you to me."
Yep.
It's really absurd in some cases.
Yeah.
In most cases, it just keeps costs down for the whole system because there's not a lot of people googling stuff on the internet and then diagnosing themselves and sending themselves to a specialist.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that's actually true. Oh yeah. So Rollo says in Canada, huh?
And there's acid in my mouth. My throat hurts, and
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about.
Yeah, no.
Sorry.
I'm just making a meme.
You're right.
I'm memeing.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought that you were insulted.
No. I'm making a meme right now.
Yeah, in Canada they're called
I think
family
it might
doctors.
Be my foot. Yeah, my foot is causing me to have these issues.
Family doctor, George, in Canada.
Yeah. In Canada it was great. I had my family doctor. I knew.
Yeah, so that's just
She's
a
a nice
PCP.
lady.
That's a primary care physician in America. Same thing. So you get a private doctor, you go to them for all your memes, and then they get you out to a specialist.
Oh, you know, what would be the best if my family doctor was Ricky Gervais, except
What
the
the
doctor.
fuck are you talking about, dude?
What hour is it now? And
If your
It's like 4
family
a.m. there or something.
doctor was
It's starting
Ricky
to lose it.
Gervais,
35. Yeah, dude.
What's
He'd
up?
be like the best doctor of all time. He'd be like spilling memes all the time. He's like, I'd be like, Doc, what's wrong with me? And he'd be like, you're dying. And then he'd be like, just kidding, dude. And I'd be like, got you.
you
And then
broke
he'd
your
be like,
funny
"You
bone.
got me." Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not not sure on that one, buddy. Ricky Gervais.
they're gonna make me turn off my phone soon. So I'm back to Finland, you guys.
Oh, awesome,
Leaving
man.
Berlin, and I'm going to the woods of Finland, and I'm going to go to the lake and sauna
Oh, I'm so jealous of your saunas in Finland, man.
in my backyard.
Oh,
Nice, dude.
oh, I really
I'm
want to
gonna-
get. I want Weldon's opinion on the benefit of saunas if he thinks that they're as good for you as I think they are.
They're better.
Okay, excellent. There it is, dude. I knew that the research was there. The research for saunas is so freaking good, dude. You need to be in a sauna every day.
Really?
Yeah, there's like objective research about how the benefits of saunas and heat shock proteins and stuff. What was he doing in Berlin? I don't know. Probably business stuff. He's here. I've been linking his stuff the whole time. It's stuff for his business probably.
Sorry, the guy was talking to me, making sure I was settled.
Oh yeah.
What was the question?
Saunas and their benefits, studies and benefits for saunas.
Oh, studies? Oh, yeah. You know, I go in the sauna every day and I feel awesome. And my skin's great. And I haven't washed my hair in like maybe a year.
Ew. Wait, what?
No, not ew. Like when you sauna. So here's how your hair gets dirty, right? You get dirt on your scalp, and then you get soot in your hair. So like fumes from the from the cars or whatever. That's what sticks to your hair, right? Because it's oily. So what we do is we take soap and we like clean our scalp, that gets all the dirt off, and then unfortunately it strips all the oil off our hair too. And then you have to recondition your hair to put like fake oil back on it just so it like lasts, right? So what I do is I just sauna, and that melts like you sweat out of your head and all the pores, and so you sweat all the dirt out right in your hair, and then you just like rinse it and rinse it and rinse it. All the dirt comes out, and then I live in freaking rural Finland where there's like literally no air pollution, like almost none.
Yeah.
So I don't really have any soot or anything in my hair from cars or whatever. So it's just clean all the time. I mean, when I go to Berlin for a week or LA, I might have to wash my hair just to get the like.
Does it get oily?
Out.
Wait, you don't take showers?
Wait,
no,
what?
I just sauna. Well, you sauna and shower at the same time.
Is it? Wait, don't you get oily though? Like your hair?
No,
gets
the opposite. Like it becomes controllable because like your hair actually soaks up the oil from your scalp. That's how it works. So if you take your hair out of this crazy, once you're an adult, I don't know, teenagers, your hormones are going crazy, right? But once you're an adult, you're just messing with stuff. If you're kind of like stripping oils and then putting oils in, stripping.
Okay.
So I just
I'm a gamer, right? And there have been periods of times I've practiced the no poo.
Right.
Whether I try it or not, my hair gets oily as shit, dude.
So when I sauna, it melts like half the oil out of my hair. So it's like running down my body.
Yeah, but what if you don't have a sauna? You just fuck.
Right, so then you're screwed. Yeah, you got to use shampoo and conditioner. Sorry. I don't know what to tell you. Get a sauna.
But
that's what I'm saying. If you have a sauna, you can get glorious hair. So.
Wait, so sauna just melts. Wouldn't putting your hair under
this is all anecdotal.
Water be the same thing? Maybe I don't fucking know.
I don't know. The water's like, how hot is the water that you get out of here? Because the sauna is like 90 degrees Celsius. Yeah.
That's not freedom temperature, so I don't know what that is. I think that's
hotter. Well, 225 is 100.
So next time I take a shower, put that shit on.
I think water conducts heat too much, so if you put water that hot in you, it would literally melt your skin off.
Oh shit, that's hot.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's
use hotter water.
There's a lot of benefits to
George, try this.
Yeah.
If this partially works. Oh, I'm sorry, because they're pulling away, so they're going to kick me off. So I'll give my advice. Then all of your fans and everybody who's watching, try to go in the shower, turn it on as hot as you can stand. It doesn't have to be that hot, that's okay. And just like stand under it, point it at your face, and like instead of scrubbing your face with soap, just like let the hot water spray at like the tip of your forehead, but it's running down your face, and also for like maybe like 3 minutes, like 4 minutes, 5 minutes, like long time. And I bet when you come out of the shower, and also just like do your hair, like just let it run through your hair and scratch your scalp a lot, like get everything off there, right? I bet when you come out of the shower, your face will be almost completely clear of any like oil and dirt and everything without any soap, because the hot water will like sweat it. You'll sweat it all out if you get really. And I bet your hair, like you'll get most of the oil kind of like off of your face. Shampoo right at the crease, like right, at the forehead, kind of where the oil runs down from your scalp onto your face, like on your forehead. Like maybe just wash like 1 inch into your head with shampoo just to get the oil off of like that first inch of your scalp that it's all going to go down over your face like over the day, and see if that works. It's like a impromptu sauna shower version that tries to do the same thing that the sauna does for me.
Okay, I'll try it.
I know, it's how I control my BO too, because like I drink a lot of coffee and I don't play games, but I work, but then if you just sweat really hard in the sauna and you get really hot, it kills everything in there. Like I don't have any problems with like the typical gamer body odor, because it's just like the sauna just wipes it out flat.
I'm also Greek, and I had a cousin of mine that came over, and my God, he was Greeker than me, but that was some nasty ass smelling dude. and he was like jacked and like well fit and like ate right, but holy fuck, Greek people, dude.
Probably didn't help that he was sweaty all the time. He's all fit, you know, running around, lifting stuff up, posing. Probably walks around like halfway clenched, you know, just to show off his biceps.
Ooh, is it time for bed soon? What is it, 5 a.m.?
Yeah, it's 5 in the morning.
You guys are mad.
We play in
mad.
12 hours, so I'm still
Good
good.
luck.
Wait, are you going to the LCS, George, now?
Tomorrow we'll be there.
But do you go now that it's closer?
Sorry, my mic's dying. I can't talk right now.
What?
Aliens are
I'm
coming.
sorry I interrupted you, Mylixia. Go. I don't remember what you were saying. It was something like about the sauna.
Saunas and
Or
studies of benefits in saunas. Yeah, I think there's a lot, right?
There's a couple.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a very high money research area.
good point.
There's a couple.
Yeah,
It's mostly related to stress relief, but the problem is there's no randomly controlled trials with active controls and a placebo.
okay.
And a placebo group. So like probably just relaxation might do the same thing. I think the effects are more pronounced when you do hot cold conditioning. It shocks the immune system in a way that like saunas don't. But if you do longitudinal studies on just people who sauna, they're like healthy. But like, what about people who exercise? You know, so they're kind of relaxing too, but the effects are stronger. I don't know.
I see. Huh.
But yeah, if you do heat and then cold, I think there's a couple pronounced studies on that. And actually, Finnish people winter they go swim in the ice lake and then sauna and swim in the ice lake. So that's like kind of what people do here. So then that's what they study.
Oh, I
Okay.
see.
Yep, we're going. Thanks, guys.
All right,
I
you
didn't mean
rock,
to interrupt
dude.
your stream, but it sounded really fun when
No,
I
dude, it
started
was
listening.
Thanks for
amazing to
coming,
talk
dude.
to you. You rock, dude. Thank you for coming.
Good to catch up with you again, George. And
Yeah,
glad you're doing well,
that
Devin.
was so funny, dude.
Thanks, dude.
Talk to you again soon.
Yes, absolutely. Anytime.
Hope CLG wins, unless they're playing TSM.
Okay.
I've gone to the
You're-
dark side, man.
Ban him. Ban him out of here.
Oh shit, dude. I think there's some stuff by like Rhonda Patrick on like heat shot proteins and like how they affect you positively in saunas and stuff. So it's good stuff. Yeah, but yes, it's 5 a.m. So perhaps we should sleep.
Yeah. I actually just remembered the thing I'm most actually excited for that might come out soon.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Diablo II Median.
What? Diablo
so-
2 Median.
Okay, so let me give context because if you look it up, it won't be what I'm looking for.
Oh, okay. I
So-
won't click this link then.
Yeah. Okay. So who's saying "help me"? What the fuck is this guy doing?
What are you talking about?
Someone chat. My sub is gone. Help me.
In what chat?
You're. Oh fuck! I'm watching. It says someone else's stream. Fuck me.
You've lost your mind, dude.
I'm lost my mind. I was watching someone else's chat and I didn't realize. So there's a Diablo 2 remake that's not like faithful to the original. He basically like redid all the skills and kind of like kept the levels, but like basically modified D2 into like their own creation, like added new bosses and kind of like changed things up entirely, right? New items, new everything.
Yeah.
And that's called Median. And some people like it, some people don't. There's two like diverges in like the Path of Exile, or not Path of Exile, the Diablo 2 modding scene. One is Path of Diablo, which is like true to the original, very similar. It's like basically a better D2. And then there's Median that's like a different offshoot of like Diablo 2.
Yeah.
Now, the Median team has been working on like remaking the D2 engine, or at least like remaking some of like the features of the D2 engine. So they're going to be adding like 920 by 1080 resolution to like Diablo 2. And that like all of the new project. Sorry, it's called Median Sigma. Is going to be coming, I think, within the year. So it's going to be like playing D2 in 1920 by 1080 with like all these other cool features.
Holy shit, that's cool.
Yeah, so that's actually like I played Median and I liked it a lot, but there's a lot of kind of bad things about it that were like engine limitations, but they actually were able to like change a lot of them. So I think Median or Sigma is going to be like insane. It's going to be better than Path of Exile, I think.
Yeah, I'd play the shit out of this. This is actually crazy.
Yeah, it's called Sigma actually, not Median. Diablo II Sigma screenshot. See if there's any.
Replace the stairs with elevators. Make rooms bigger. What?
You can see like this is some of the Sigma UI that they're creating. I think. I don't know if this is like recent or final. Wait, hold on. Whoops, that's the wrong one. Let me send you. Oh yeah, this one's picture. So this is like a picture of what like the new menu or the new like inventory interface will look like.
Yeah.
Very clean, much different. Looks more like Diablo. Looks more like Diablo 3.
And all you need is the base game to do this?
Yeah, all you need is the base game. Here's like a screenshot of like the higher res. So it looks like a lot better. And this is like, these are old. These are like, they've been developing this for a long, long time.
This is crazy. And it'll be out sometime in 2018?
Yeah.
Damn, dog. This is going to be really cool.
It's been like a 5-year project that they've been working on really hard on. You have to go on their actual forums and find the threads, but there should be screenshots and they're fucking awesome.
Addition of extra areas, new affixes and stats, improved interface, bounty system similar to D3, automatic gold pickup, timed events.
Where are you finding this?
Here.
What is Sigma?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, I see. Yeah, that's the one. This is the thread. But there's also like pretty sure there's like a whole section.
How do you know this is coming to 2012? Because this looks like they've been at this, how do you know this is coming to 2018? Because it looks like they've been at this since 2012.
I've talked to the developer before.
Nice.
He's cool. And also a lot of people are talking about how they're actually, I think, done most of the programming and stuff. They're all like just art assets right now that are being worked on.
How do you mod Diablo 2 to use this? Can you play it on Battle.net? Like, I don't understand how that works.
There will be like a patcher. You just like launch the patcher and it'll download.
And then you play on a private server, or how does it work?
Yeah, you play on a private server.
I see.
They have like, it redirects instead of going to Battle.net to like the private server instead.
Uh-huh.
Fuck, I wish I had the screenshots.
I'm looking around. Oh, here's some. What?
You can peek at the work in progress here.
Is there any chance Blizzard will take it down like WoW private servers? Probably not. Diablo 2 is so old that I can't imagine.
Just too old.
Yeah, I can't imagine they would.
The Diablo, like this Median's been around for a long time, and they haven't touched Median. So Sigma is just like an extension of Median, just better graphics and like in refined engine.
They have let Path of Diablo run super long. People even stream it. Yeah, I'm sure there'll be no problem with this at all. I mean, like, what's the ROI in Blizzard? Just pissing off people. Like, it's not worth it. Is there any YouTube video about this? About Sigma?
Maybe like some underground stuff. I don't know. Like very like low viewer count.
Median XL has 229K. That's like a really impressive amount of people for. But Median XL is not Sigma. It's something different.
Yeah, it's not meeting. So
Yeah, this isn't.
It's
This is
more-
even more. Yeah, this is even more better.
Excel Sigma.
Wait, but this Median XL update was in 2017. It's pretty recent.
So median median Excel. Oh, here it is. Screenshot thread.
Here's some 47
here it
minute
is.
video in like fucking bananas language.
That's not. So median Excel. It's not. You don't want to confuse median Excel with Sigma.
No, I get the difference now. Yeah.
Yeah, if you see that screenshot thread, the WIST guy, MXL Dev, he also shows like a screen of like the lobby. So you see they like redid the art assets in the lobby too.
Yeah.
And, like the create and join details thing looks a lot prettier. Holy shit, that looks so pretty.
Bounty system has 3 tiers. Every time you create a game, the server generates 1 task for each tier randomly. Kill a specific boss, clear an area, kill a monster in an amount of time.
Oh, I found another cool screenshot. This is a good indicator.
Completion
So-
grants you a reward. In most cases, EXP.
So in Diablo, it was like impossible what was in the item because like say 10 strength on the item,
Yeah.
and you had a jewel that was 10 strength or like 5 strength, it
Yeah.
would say 15 strength, so you wouldn't know how much the jewel is.
Yeah, I 100% remember.
Yeah, you press a specific button, and it shows you all like the different items, and then like
It's like
obviously the
more
UI is a lot
details
cleaner.
in Path of Exile.
Yeah, and it seems like they've changed the potion system. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think there's 5 in Diablo, right? They might
Yeah.
have changed the potions too. But it just looks like it's gonna be fucking dope.
This is pretty crazy. This is like, there's like a whole underground community on this. Like, this has 1,100 posts.
Yeah, I mean this is gonna be, in my opinion, from what I've heard about this and like what they're trying to do with this is better than Path of Exile for me, at least in this day and age.
Damn, that lobby looks bad as fuck, dude. That's so cool.
Yeah, they've done things like expanded inventory, right? And the 2, you can even fit your charms in the same inventory. Like if you had to if you want to pick up items, you have like no spots and stuff like that. It was like a limitation.
Yeah, this is crazy. Wow, they redid everything. Reworked the party screen. The border around the class icon will change depending on level.
Seems like they're doing some stuff with the skill hotbars and stuff here.
Yeah, that's a weird one, but
Yeah.
that's pretty crazy. Yeah, this looks really
I
good.
mean, considering D2, if you remember, the way it worked was you had a left click skill and a right click skill, and then to change them, you had to press like F1, F2, and then that skill would change for left and right. So it wasn't like in World of Warcraft where you press like the number, like, let's say like you press E, right, and that uses an ability no matter what.
Mhm.
Like you'd have to change to E and then cast with your right click.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I think that they're actually going into a model where you can cast different skills by pressing one button, which is like insane gameplay upgrade.
Oh yeah, that's like totally next level. No, this would be. I will play this 1,000%
Yeah. We're gonna hype the shit out of this.
for sure. This will be really good. I'll need to find some copy of Diablo 2. I don't even know if you can still buy them.
You can off the BNet store. I also have like,
Oh, cool.
I mean, if you ever owned it at some point, do you not have a copy lying around or something? if you put it, I put my copy into the BNet store like, I don't know, like fucking 8 years ago, and I still have it.
Maybe
there.
I do have it then. Yeah, because I bought it maybe at least 2 times, but whatever. If I can buy it, it's whatever.
God, it looks so fucking pretty, dude.
Yeah, it looks really good. That's actually gonna be huge. I'll definitely play that.
Here, wait. Let me send you one more. So this is like just a better resolution.
Oh, I was just looking at this. Yeah, look at the mana. That looks so sick.
And look how big like the screen
Yep.
is. And, like it looks like the resolution is like a little bit more aid. Let me show you regular Diablo.
Because even this will completely change the game because your field of view is so much higher. So like you'll see monsters way before they come in. Like it'll change a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Let me. I'm gonna show you because you might not be able to remember exactly. This is your actual field of view.
Oh yeah. The difference is utterly insane.
It's like not even.
Yeah. And like mana's like a blue circle.
Your basically field of view is like nothing.
It looks like they removed stamina. No, they didn't. They put it into an orb. Okay, I see. That's cool. Like a sand orb. It used to be like that really ugly like bar, but they changed the stamina into an orb to the.
EXP.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stamina might be like a different function in this game. Like you have a stamina skill that you need to like properly manage instead of it being just like running, which is like at some point in the game it's basically doesn't even matter anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like a stupid mechanic. Doesn't even matter.
Yeah, they might change it to be like used with certain skills and stuff like that. That could be cool.
Yeah, at level 40 you never use stamina ever again. You just always have stamina.
Do you believe in the dev that's like making these balance changes? That it's like they're gonna make sense and make a better game?
Yeah, I really like the direction that they're taking.
Yeah.
I think they're really smart guys.
That's really good. How are they gonna support it? They do donations or something?
They already have like a system going on. It's actually like technically pay to win at like severe cost. They have like basically the equivalent of form gold, you know, like D2JSB.
Yeah, very familiar with it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's basically like they have that on their website. So you pay like $20 and you get like X amount of form gold, and then like people trade using form gold. I've never spent $1 on form gold, and I played like 2 seasons of median, and I have like $3,000 worth of like form gold.
Whoa.
Yeah, for someone to actually like, buy that shit, it would cost a lot of money. I just sold my items. I got items and like made some baller auctions and
on median.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Actually, there was probably not $3,000. Probably like more like close to like 1,000.
Yeah, but still, that's actually nuts. Yeah, this looks really good. Damn.
But like most people, unless they're like super well off and just don't give a fuck, they won't spend. Most people just earn their shit.
Yeah, but for a private server like this, they only needed very little to support themselves.
Yeah.
And they could do like a Patreon if they wanted or something. It would be like massively
I think they do have a Patreon.
They did?
What is it? Median
XL Patreon.
XL Patreon. Probably. Yeah. They do have a Patreon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it makes like $350 a month. That's pretty good.
It's not bad. They get most of their monetization from the
gold. Yeah.
the gold.
That makes sense.
But honestly, yeah, I actually think it improves the gameplay because you can play more, right? So the problem with Path of Exile is like you always grind up and then like you're just kind of done after you like get your items and you built your character.
Mhm.
But like after I built my character and had my items in this game, I kept farming because I know in the future league I'll be able to use like the gold to buy whatever I want and like farm
Oh.
now to farm later. I think systems like that work really well in some games. Because like trading items is clunky sometimes, and just to have a common currency to like trade with is really good. I think like if you wanted to be like an elitist and like make it like perfect, you would just make it so like you can't buy with real money, but like having that middle ground currency is like really nice.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. So you have a currency that kind of persists with you over the course of like your entire like run, and then like
Lifetime.
Yeah, that actually is really cool. I would farm that way harder in Path of Exile if that was the case.
Yep.
Yeah.
So would everybody. I think Path of Exile, Chris saw Diablo 3 and like just in his mind has like this really anti-trade mentality.
Yeah.
And they've been doing a really bad job of like handling it, number one, but also like thinking about the future of like how people actually really like to play those games. So
yeah, your prediction that it's gonna die is freaking crazy, but maybe it's true.
we'll see.
Yeah.
It's one of the few companies that I've actually like supported through just love and passion for the developer. So to maybe they like rekindle that somehow, but my thinking is like they know it's coming and they know something's like fucked, and they're like making Path of Exile 2 or something right now.
Yeah, they've said that their studio's working on a game, right?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they
But,
said that.
They got a fuck ton of money from Tencent, so
Yep. And they're expanding their
wonder what
staff,
they're
and they're
doing.
hiring game designers and graphics artists and shit. I mean, and like all kinds of different people for those positions. So you would think,
yep, we'll see.
yeah.
Okay, bud, let's play Warframe sometime.
I'd love to. That'd be awesome. Just let me know, like, or like, shit, we can do it in the next couple of days. I want to give that game a shot.
Yeah.
I'll message you. That's about all we could play together right now, I think.
Yeah, it's literally the only thing, so.
I'm down. Is it like a good co-op game?
Yeah, I think it is.
Cool. Let's do it.
All right, bud. Night.
Yeah. Good talking to you, man. Love you very much. Take care.
Take care, buddy.
Later.